Us again. We're just having a little bit of fun with some chicken performance, but we did not change up today's program for you. Well, that is just the beginning of the next phase of what we will be here to offer you. Um, anyway, just having a little bit of fun. I do, of course, have to apologize for my voice. I will continue to project as I always do, but I do have a pocket full of cough drops and might have to stop at times to reload so that I can continue to be able to do the presentation for the hour. So hopefully you enjoy my raspy voice for the program. And I think I've just hopped up on a little too much cold medicine. So I know that I will be entertaining for you today. Not to mention I'm laughing because the chickens are still making the teeter totter go up and down as they are jumping on it trying to get the food. So we definitely have a whole new thing going here for you guys. But today we have a lot of content. And again, I'm just excited to see, not really, but to see many of our regular faces. And I just want to continue to thank you for supporting me in this and continue to encourage you to provide me with some input about other things that you will be looking for. We are going to start to move into doing some textile type programs, doing different projects related to that. But of course, as much as I can continue, we'll be doing it outside as well. My outfit will change. I will begin to bundle up and might not be as pleasing, but that is life on a farm. I might have to break down and get some new Carhartt jumper suits for you guys because if you know anything about your outdoor farm wear, the more broken in they are, the better they are. But I think I have to concede that my jumper might be seeing its final days, at least for public presentation. So yeah, so we are excited to bring out our winter wear. You will now continue to see me in my ultimate favorite headband here. I'm more of this kind of girl than a hat girl. But anyway, so I'm looking forward to continue to bring content, throughout the winter and for as much as you guys want to continue to join us. So please remember to share with your friends, let people know that this is really something for everybody. And I hope that you feel that way as well. Now, today's program is literally going to be the tip of the iceberg. So I'm going to kind of move around here. That way, Karen can kind of span around to what she has set up for us for today. Today's program is about llama performance. So it's really an introduction to introduce you guys to the concept of what we do with our animals. This is one portion of what I breed and raise my animals for. But based on interest from today, I can break this down in so many ways. And so I will definitely be looking for feedback. Again, I know that we've got Karen that's been joining us each week who does have llamas. And I know Karen even tries to do a little bit of performance with her girls. I know Claudia has been joining us who is interested in getting llamas and maybe even mentioned to me that she was going to try to show them or at least go to one show. And then for the rest of you, I mean, who knows? You never know where. I think I said to Marti the other day, I saw lots of property on that film. So you never know what's going to end up in your life. But otherwise, I hope this just really offers perspective to give you guys a better understanding really about what these animals are all about, what they're capable of, and what we do with them. And there again is so much. So for today, I'm just going to kind of break down for you, introduce you to the performance concept that we do with llamas, explain a little bit about the individual classes, and then we have an array of animals out here in which I am basically just going to show you kind of different levels of where animals are at and what they're capable of doing. And again, we'll just go from there. So the first thing just to remind everybody is that we do breed our animals for what I call fiber, form, and function. So for me, my breeding program, of course, is about, first of all, having a good, sound, strong animal. Llamas were originally bred and raised as a pack animal, not a fiber animal. So that foundation is so important, really, for any animal. And so conformation is what we're looking at, and that's how an animal's body is put together. So as a pack animal, you could of course imagine that you want an animal to be nice and sound and strong underneath, meaning in their legs. And in doing performance, that certainly is part of it as well. Now, of course, fiber, that goes without saying, because many of you, of course, are already involved in the fiber arts, know that part of what we do. And then the function. So the function is this functionality and this performance, if you will. But the function is not only just about entertainment. And really what it is it's set up for us to be able to display what these animals should be capable of doing. So as I mentioned to you, they were originally bred and raised as a pack animal. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that our animals are trained to carry a pack. Now, going to a show is really just about us being able to display what we are hopefully doing with our animals at home. And then, of course, adding in the competitive nature and competing and being able to measure up what you do versus other people and other animals. But the reality is that really in a competitive nature, we are merely putting together the components of what we should already be doing with our animals at home. So this is just one example of some of the things that we're going to talk about today. So for performance, when we go to a show, which again is merely just a venue that is helping me to channel these different concepts, it is not the be all end all. And certainly a show is only one aspect of demonstrating what we should already be doing with them. The best way I can describe it to people, and I hope if we can get back to shows next year, that we'll be able to give you some live footage from where we are. But we are having this performance, and the best way I can describe it, it's like dog agility. So hopefully if you've ever seen dog agility or another one, some people that are involved with horses might be familiar with what's called Western pleasure trail classes. So if you ride Western, not English, because English people, of which I was one, we would not be doing this. But if you are a Western rider, you are supposed to be a little bit more about enjoying your horse and trail riding. I know Jill is probably laughing if she's watching the program, of course, from the control center. But that is up. So we're going to have a little bit of background noise. And so I will just have Karen quick span onto it so that you can just see this is all about what life happens on a farm. I told my hey guys that they were going to be part of our virtual program. And of course, I have to just digress for a moment because there's a huge tractor trailer that's going to be coming by and making a bit of noise. But to add to our morning's activities, of course, we got a small load of hay delivered, and we are always so thankful for our hay guys to be bringing that to us. Of course, me, as I see that driving by, I'm like, oh, look at that bill that I just got as it's driving by. The llamas, on the other hand, they're like, woohoo, that's our feed day. So they're always happy to see that come in. All right, now that that's past us. So as I was saying, this Western Pleasure Trail class, again, is really just about you are a Western rider and you are going out on trail with your horse. What might you encounter? What might you have to do? And again, the same thing with dog agility. And then, of course, people will say, well, are the llamas off lead? No, absolutely not. So it is teamwork. That's what it is all about. And so we have 4 classes that we can be involved in, 3 of which are the primary. So believe it or not, llamas can be taught to drive. Now, that doesn't mean drive a car, but llamas can be taught to pull a cart. And we call that driving. Now, unfortunately, I can't demonstrate that because I will say that's the one thing that I've not gotten involved in. And that's because there really is a lot more commitment to that, not only in terms of equipment, but really in terms of training. And a lot of the training, if you want to call it that we do, is really involving our animals on things that are happening here on the farm day to day. So I will say our training program has been a bit interrupted this year because normally we are taking our animals into the community. We're doing community programming, and we will bring babies along with their moms so they can have these opportunities in a safe environment, being supported by their mom. None of that's happened this year. So it'll be interesting to see. On the other hand, though, the flip side, we've had more people visiting the farm, more people here on tours, and more people interacting with our animals on the farm. So there's pros and cons to both of it. So I don't necessarily say that I'm out here training my animals, but they are involved in our youth programs. We let the kids work with them. We let the kids handle them. And on baby step process, supervising their growth and what they're able to do. So training to drive a cart, there is definitely a lot more involved. And you see, and I'm sure a horse pull a cart, it looks exactly the same way for a llama. You can do single, you can do double, which is called tandem, or you could also do three. I don't know what that's called. I don't think it's called anything, but you can have even three pulling. So it's amazing to watch. There's not a lot of people across the US that are involved in it, but it is pretty amazing. And then the other three classes are called public relations. What does that sound like? It's everything that we do. So it's our animals interacting with people and doing things in the community. When you look at a public relations course or an obstacle course, I'm trying to look around. So perhaps one of the things that we might say is, okay, if we're going to do public relations, a mandatory obstacle is something we call people pet. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but for somebody to walk up to your llama and just pet your llama, which most of the time they're going to try and pet the face, or somebody's going to come up and pet the tail. Is your llama going to move? Is your llama going to jump? Are they desensitized to this process? Your llama has to get in and out of a trailer, or maybe it has to jump in and out of a van. So for instance, when I had to take Maria and JC up to Cornell, I was praying my lucky stars that Maria, who has never done a stitch of performance in her life, was going to get into that van. And luckily enough, Christopher did come and help. However, in a moment, she jumped in the van, which is amazing. So for me, that assesses an animal's personality and their ability to navigate things that are put before them. And so those are things that we just take real life situations. Public relations also, you might have to put a parade blanket on them. That's something that we have set up over here. You might have to wrap a scarf around them. If you guys follow me on social media, you saw that we took some of our animals to do holiday photography with families. And so they had to pose and they had to have little kids around them. That's public relations. Then the second thing is pack. So as I already pointed out, we have this pack system over here. And the pack system is basically a saddle that goes on the animal's back. There are girth straps, just like a horse, that's going to go around their belly. That is usually the big factor. Something going around the animal's belly, something touching their belly, something sitting on their back is scary, but putting something under their belly is even scarier for them. And then we have these panniers, or kind of like the little backpacks on either side. So for instance, having a pack on your animal is only one part of it. In a class, they're always going to make us stop, pick up something, and put something in the pack. So not only do you have to get the pack on the animal when you enter the ring, but now we have to also demonstrate how we can use the pack. Sometimes we have to strap things to the top. So those are things that we look at. Also in pack, if you're out hiking in the woods, you might have to step over fallen trees. You might have to walk through water. I posted a video yesterday of something I was doing with Louise. So just imagine what you're going to encounter when you're outside and they actually recreate that. We have very simple things set up here today. Then the last is just called obstacles. Honestly, we usually call that circus tricks. And so for instance, some of the things are just silly things. I swear sometimes they just do things to see what can we make them have their llamas do. So something very common is they like to have us try to get our animals to step up onto something or step into something. In the more advanced classes, they've even had just like a small feed pan that we've had to get like 2 front feet in. They're always making us do some silly things for that. And then there's basic things like jumps and backing up. So these are all things that are not normal or common to a llama. As a horse girl growing up, if somebody told me that their horse would not pick up their feet to have the farrier do their shoes, that was unbelievable to me. You don't think about, oh, can I pick up my horse's feet? But to be able to pick up a llama's foot is very difficult. You do anything with their legs and they view that as an attack on their life. In South America, Their natural predator, their only predator is the mountain lion. And how's the llama going to get taken down? By getting at its legs. So just by me picking up a leg, they view that as an attack and it's very scary for them. So that is something you have to desensitize them towards. Touching their face, they are extremely head shy. So to be able to just go up and touch their face or show teeth, that's what they like to make us do, or inspect their ears, things like that. Put a hat on their head, all sorts of things like that are very difficult normally for an animal. So, what I've got for you today is we've lined up a couple of different animals at different levels to just hopefully be able to show you that it is not that easy and that all of the things that you see me do under normal circumstances has to start somewhere. So it starts with our breeding program, it starts with the animals that we select, and then it all accumulates in terms of just the cooing and coddling and interacting with them in the pen, to being able to get them out on a halter and lead, to being able to use them for programs, and then to be able to practice baby obstacles or taking little baby steps. So, with the time we have today, I'm going to be getting these animals out and just showing you a couple of things. But as you can see, as I mentioned, this really is just the tip of the iceberg. But I'm so passionate about this. I enjoy it so much. And I'm so proud of what we do with our animals and what our animals are capable of. Now, when we go to a llama show and we show in halter, which is how they're judged on how they look, it's very subjective. And a lot also has to do with who's on the other end of the lead, as we call it. However, I will say, as a small farm and a small breeding program, we are very competitive in that nature as well. But the way I look at it is getting in that ring and doing performance, which a lot of the big halter people do not do. It's because it takes work and it takes time and it takes effort. So my ultimate goal and what I've continued to strive for and what I've been able to do is to have an animal that excels in the halter ring as well as in the performance ring and as well as being judged on fiber. But when it comes down to it, working with kids and having animals that can do these kinds of things and be a functional animal for somebody else to love and enjoy is my ultimate goal and my ultimate passion. So I am really proud of the fact that most of the animals on our farm are national champions in aspects of performance. And when people come to enjoy them from a farm tour, nobody cares. And we don't normally boast that. But everything from our eldest guy, Double, at 22 now, has probably won more awards and championships than anybody can count, all the way down to, I guess, probably our youngest Stewie that we have here, that as well, even at the young age of just a year old, had a number of championships and awards too. So thank you for letting me indulge on that. I don't normally boast about my children, but I just felt like that proud mama that just pulled out her wallet and, had the whole little flip card of pictures so I could tell everybody how wonderful our animals are. So you're going to have to bear with us as we move around in order to be able to get the animals. What I asked Karen to do is to collect a variety of animals so that we could show these different levels. Now, the first challenge is going to be a bit of me getting the baby out of the trailer. I'm probably going to have to bring mom as well, but if you can guess it, wait, I'm going to let you guys, this is supposed to be interactive and you guys know you can just jump in. Who do you think I have as far as our baby to be able to do some evaluating on performance?
JC.
Oh, she's doing great. I probably would have, except for her surgery. I don't want her jumping or spooking, we call it, getting scared at anything, and have her jumping and pulling anything. So I probably would have had JC. She's been out for walks, but nope. Next guess.
Benji.
Of course. And I will say, JC is doing fabulous on the halter and lead. But as far as our other babies, they have definitely been victims of COVID. And we have had minimal opportunities to get Benji as well as Lorelei out on the lead. And quite frankly, as I think about it, Lorelai's getting close to probably 6 months old. She's probably like 5 months at least right now. I feel like Mackenzie, who is Stewie's mom, by the time Mackenzie was 6 months, I had her parading around doing full courses. So this is like, a victim of, as things get busy and mama gets busy, you're like, just go play in the street. So that's kind of what I feel like a little bit right now. So I've definitely been slacking on my commitment that way, but we still have great animals. So Benji has had minimal time on the lead. Karen's not going to be able to get too close because don't want to lose reception. I know she can get a little bit closer. But I've got Benji and his mom, Olive, in the trailer. Now, Olive does not do performance. That is not Olive's thing. That is not what I purchased her for. Sometimes it might be just funny to see what she might do if we ask her to do anything. But I've got her here because Benji is not yet used to being without her for any prolonged period of time. So we want to make sure he feels comfortable. And I did not want to tie him to the fence like we've got some of these other girls as well. So I am trying to figure out the best way to be able to get in here and get them. So you guys are going to have to hang on a minute. I will continue to talk as I'm doing this, but I'm going to have to see if we can make this work. I think I'm going to go in the side door. So you guys are going to have to not see me, but you can hear me. And that is so that we can, there we go. This is not an easy one to be doing alone. So just keep listening, but I've got to go into the side door to get these guys because I don't have anybody to man that back door. And of course, we don't want loose llamas. Now, right now, Olive is wondering what in the world. I also have to say, guys, that we did not groom animals for today's presentation, as I am looking at Benji, who is wearing breakfast all over his body. So he is going to look like a hay
have
bale.
it any other way.
Oh, somehow or other, that is what we always manage. All right, good girl, Olive. Now, even just getting out of the trailer, which you guys are not going to be able to see, is going to be a little bit for him because he has to jump down. This is probably the first time he's ever been in a trailer, but he is going to follow Mom, who is hopefully going to come out, although Mom is not really too sure of what this is all about at the moment. So I am working on getting her out, and clearly jumping is not in her repertoire. So now what I have to do, because Mom is not helping the situation, but that's fine. So now we're going to close the side door. And this is a good lesson in just working with what you've got, of course. And as I said, evaluating an animal's natural ability. Clearly, Olive is afraid of heights, and it's not a very big step, mind you, either. So we're going to open up the back door, which is going to be a lot easier for her. And hopefully out she comes. Yes, much easier for her.
Good girl.
Benji is now trying to whoop. There we go.
Good boy, Benji.
Aww.
All right, so Olive is now like, I have no idea what's happening. We're going to let Olive get a little closer to Louise. Hopefully girls will not get into a fight over the hay. Hopefully they have learned their kindergarten lesson and they will be good sharers, as I call it. All right. So we've got little Benji. And again, as silly as it seems with Benji, yes, he was born naturally friendly. And when I say friendly, not that the other animals are mean, approachable is a better word. So even doing something like this, where I'm just trying to get some of the hay off his head, even though I'm restraining him in order to be allowed to do it, you'll see the difference if I go to grab somebody else to do that. So even just the touching that we do every time you guys see them on video, even what I'm doing right now, being able to get the hay off of him, that's all training. Training is just things like that, touching, desensitizing, getting them used to various things on their body. One of the things you'll notice with him that we've been trying, because he always wants to be in your face, we're trying to get him to already be comfortable with touching his belly. Which I don't know if you guys can hear him when I do that.
Yes, you can.
Yes, that was cute.
He's like a little frog. He does make a lot of noise. Now, the one thing that he doesn't care about, but he tends to go down with, is that when we touch his leg, so you guys can see, he's not as comfortable with that. I don't think he cares, but he definitely thinks we're playing. Whereas we've had other babies that are a lot more comfortable about us touching their legs. And so you'll see the minute I touch his knees, even if I come down to his level, he's getting better, but see how he wants to go down. So in one respect, if you want to train your animal to lay down, which would be super cool, clearly that is his MO, as I call it. We find a lot of the Sir Arthur babies that when they don't want to do something, or when they get nervous, or if they're trying to avoid a situation, their MO is to go down as opposed to go up. So that's something personally, I'm okay with that, because going down is a lot easier to manage than exploding up in the air. So we're going to just start to walk him. He's obviously very anxious. He's been out and about, but he's definitely not used to standing still. So he's quite happy right now walking around and investigating. He just did not want to be standing still on camera. And that's, again, just the nature of the baby. So for him and where he's at, he has never seen at all the likes of anything out here. So right now, what I'm just doing is Karen's just going to gently follow me around and just pan the camera. And I'm just walking him around the obstacles. As silly as that sounds, for certain animals, to just even be able to walk past these things are scary, like something like this. So not only is he just getting to look at things and check out what they are, but the fact that he's not avoiding things. So I'm going to now have him walk, see if you'll see, this is like a baby obstacle. So there's something on the ground, and I just want him to walk over it. And you'll see right now, he doesn't know what it is, and he sees it as a slight barrier, but he did it. There are other animals that wouldn't have just even walked over that black piping. Now you might be saying, why do you have this silly, crazy purple pool? That's what we call it, the purple pool. Because even to be able to step into something is a big deal, but the fact that it's got a funny color and funny shapes, some animals wouldn't even want to walk next to it. So even just walking him in a circle around the pool is allowing me to evaluate his personality and what he thinks about that. So I'm still thinking he's actually doing pretty good. They are impressionable when they're young, but that doesn't mean they would still walk around these kinds of things. Now, this is going to be even a bigger test, but I'm just going to see if he's going to figure out how to walk over this with me. And we're going to have a little bit of resistance, which is okay. He doesn't see, there we go. There's the opening.
Oh.
Now, right now, what I'm doing is I'm not pulling, but there we go.
Oh,
So
nice.
I
Good
just,
boy.
I wish he
Wow.
could hear, he's getting fanfare. Good job, they said.
Good
They said good job.
Benji.
Good boy.
So all I was doing was applying gentle pressure. I wasn't pulling, but I just had pressure. And I wasn't going to release the pressure, but I wasn't increasing the pressure. So I was merely politely asking and giving him the time to try to figure it out. And so again, we're just struggling with him wanting to stand still, which is fine. I'm not making an issue.
He's
Now,
a kid.
Yeah, he's got ADD. Now, I'm not, I'm just looking to see what he's going to do with this. Even though, again, this seems so simple to you guys, the fact that there's this big white thing in the middle in front of him and he doesn't really understand, because he's like, well, why do I have to go over it? I could just walk around it. Look what I could do. So an obstacle like this, because there's no barriers on either side, are very difficult for them because they know they can go around. So I'm not pushing that issue with him. I'm going to lower one side of this. And now there's barriers on either side. So he doesn't really have a choice
Oh,
Good boy.
but to figure out how to get over it. And honestly, again, he is figuring these things out very easily, because I swear to you, he has never seen the likes of anything like this. And so the fact that he's like, okay, how do I get to the other side? Now, that time he didn't overreact and he just stepped over it nicely, which is fine. I'm going to see this is still too tough and I don't want to stress him out because he can just easily go around it. So the way that we would train him to do something like this is we would just create the barrier. Now, I'm taking a big chance here because there's other babies that even just picking up this pole as I just did and walking with it would be super scary because he's just like, oh my gosh, that looks like a tree just got up and moved. And I don't know what to do about that. So he is being very good. And I promise you, this is real life. So this could have either gone really well or really bad. But the nice thing is this is exactly what I would be doing just to evaluate any of my animals' abilities in terms of their potential. I can't take a 2 and make them a 10. I could take a 2 and make them a 5 or make them a 7. But they have to naturally have some sort of ability and interest to be able to figure it out on their own. So I'm not asking him anything. I'm just telling him he can't go around. There you
Yeah,
go.
that was great.
Good job. Good job. And they don't really, I don't think, take praise. I do not use food for my animals as praise. I don't want them to assimilate a handout or food as why they should do something. That's just my personal opinion. I want them to do something because they want to and because they know that it makes us happy and that it's a fun thing for them. But I don't want them doing it because of food. Only on a rare occasion have I ever utilized food if an animal's been scared about something or got scared from something. And only one other time have I ever done clicker training. That is way too much work, in my opinion. If you're not familiar with clicker training, that's a whole nother topic. But actually, for their father, Sir Arthur, who has a really pissy look on his face most times, we were up for a really big championship show off, and I had to win that class. And so I was clicker training him to put his ears up. And that is the only time because there was a lot riding on it, and it just made me laugh because really nothing was riding on it other than I wanted to make sure we won, which was a big deal for me. So one more thing that I'm going to do is now I'm going to pick something up. I am not going to put this on him because this is way too much for a little baby. However, even just picking something up, like what he's sniffing, I have other animals, actually Maverick, who we just recently placed in their new home. Maverick was a year old, and if I pick this up, he dragged me about 5 feet, and that was only because I was able to dig my heels in and stop. It just was not comfortable for him, but there were so many other things he did well, and we never really continued to push the issue because I knew that's not what he was going to need to do in his life. So this little dingbat is very excited about this pack. He's rubbing on it, he's sniffing it. So that's all well and good. I just want to see what he's going to do when I pick it up. He's like, where'd it go? Okay. So one of the things that they'll often make us do is they will have us open up an umbrella. So as silly as that sounds, picking up an umbrella, if I was at a parade with my animal, it started raining, well, I want to be undercover. Just picking up an umbrella and being able to open that umbrella and then being able to hold it over my head while I'm holding a llama is a huge deal for most animals. So the picking up motion for most animals, they would be very affected by that. This motion. Okay. So, well, this is what we do. Look at that. Okay, we're soft pack trained.
Wow, that was
He's
great.
so good.
Well, now
He's
part
such
of this,
a little
yeah.
talent.
So
He's
part of
practically
this,
a pro.
I know, right? They come out this way. This is what we breed for. Now, what I'm also using is he's distracted by something. I'm not sure what. And he probably is not thinking about the fact that this is on him. Now, putting it on him and then walking with it on him is usually a bigger deal. Now he's like, oh no, there's something on me. And that's okay. So normally what we would do is just let him walk it off, as I call it. We would just let him get used to it banging on his legs or swinging on him. Now, what I don't want is for it to fall off and scare him. So I'm going to take that off because I don't want him to get a negative experience. That is so important. These guys are super smart. And the ultimate goal is not to do something, it's to make it be a fun and interesting and exciting thing for them. So I am sure somewhere in his life practice here, even early on, we'll find something that he is not as good at. It might just be standing still, which sounds silly. But for instance, there could be an obstacle where I have to walk up to this bar and I have to make him stay while I go do something. He's watching a chicken. That's the only reason why it might work. Stay. Stand. So I'd have to pick something up and then I would have to like come back. And believe it or not, again, circus tricks, they'll have like a set of like 8 balls and you have to pick up the ball and find the ball with like the mark on it. Of course, it's always the last one. And this is us. We're like trying to stretch as far as we can, telling the llama to stand. We're like picking up balls to try and find that stupid ball with the X on it. It's really, really entertaining. Mind you, he is very preoccupied by the chickens. So that is why he was standing still for the little bit of time that he was. But every animal has things that they're good at, not good at. Again, obviously, Benji was born good in many ways based on his breeding, because it does not come from his mama. That is for sure. Actually, we should take Olive out and have Olive do something just to show you when animals do absolutely nothing. Okay, as I'm switching animals, any questions? Any questions, anybody? Other than, of course, giving the appropriate praise for Benji, which I appreciate. Okay. All right. So we're going to bring Benji back to mama.
And then how many pounds? Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
How many pounds can a llama comfortably carry?
So we usually say that they can carry a third of their body weight. Now, what that, of course, will vary is based on the animal and, the animal's size and what they are also trained to do. So even though Olive, is however much she is off the top of my head, I can't remember. She was pushing like 380 when she was pregnant. I know she's not that now. But even let's just say if she was 300, which she's more than that, she could carry 100 pounds. She's not trained to carry 100 pounds by far. So, but that is the rule of thumb. Now, oh, go ahead. Yep.
Is there an age that you normally start training for obstacle courses?
I start as young as I can. Again, generally, we are doing and traveling, doing educational programs. And so we have been known, as long as it's a safe environment, to take a mom and her 3-day-old baby on an educational program where we're setting up a pen and they're on a grass field and they just have to be there for people to be able to see and meet and interact with. So that's, what we try to take opportunities to do. Now, mind you, none of these babies have been off the farm, which is a little discouraging, but it's the nature of, where we're at right now. But in terms of getting halters on them, if they were going on a program, I mean, we've had babies on a program, they're so young, we don't even have halters fit them. And the halters like falling off their face, and we have the tiniest, cutest halters. So it's, really getting a halter on them. Otherwise, normally, I would say at least, by 2 months old, I'm hoping to have a halter on them 3 months old. You have to remember that these animals are supposed to be weanable by 5 to 6 months old. For me, 6 months is a minimum. So by 6 months old, if I was going to let that animal go, which I generally don't, that animal should be fully halter trained, lead trained, and, able to catch and halter easily enough. All of this kind of stuff is something that most people really do not do. So for me, this is just about, what the animals can do. And even if an animal gets sold to be a pet, still having them used to and in being around these kinds of things just makes them a better animal for whatever it is that they're going to do. Now, this is Franny. So Franny is a year old. Now, Franny is a female. Now, that's not to say girls can't do it too, but it is less likely that even keeping her as part of our program that we are going to have her be actively involved in performance. I still like to be able to have my animals do things and experience things, but that does not mean, her main goal in life, sorry, ladies, is that she is here to be bred, not to be going to shows and doing performance and things like that. So that's just important to recognize in terms of, where I'm concerned about her abilities and capabilities. Now, her dad is our older sire count, and he is a very well-trained, well-handled animal after we got him. And he definitely has a good personality and passes that on to his babies. Her mom, on the other hand, is she's like, okay, it was in front of me. I'm supposed to do that. So her mom, on the other hand, also is very chill. But Franny, I would not say is ever going to be a 10 at performance, but we have trained her and she is used for our youth lessons. So she is certainly well capable. But there's things that she is good at and things that she is not good at. She's very slow also. And believe it or not, slow is not necessarily good. The judges are looking for, and you're also looking for, an animal that's confident and that is going to walk with you and be a partner. Now, look at it this way. Maybe she's not very fast, so she's a great partner for somebody who doesn't walk. She would not make, a great camping packing animal. She definitely would not be winning any races. But at the same time, there's just a place and time for everything. Come here, baby girl. So one of the things I'm going to show you that I did not do with Benji, although I'm sure I could have. So just being able to put something over her like this. Now I'm a little less inclined, but there we go. I'm just going to let it go so it can kind of dangle on her, touching their legs, just so she can feel things. So that's actually very good, that she is really not responding to the fact that this is banging her legs. Coming back over their head, you see them moving a little bit. Now we've started to do some different things with her so that she has a little more experience in handling and understanding. So you can see that she knows she was supposed to go through that. There you go. And I'm going to see how she reacts to the soft pack. But you can see that she has a little bit more of like a tentativeness about her as she's moving around. So you can see her looking at it differently than Benji. And so that's a good example as well. So if I wanted to go put this on her, she's also a little older and a little smarter. Sometimes when you get them as babies, it's a little easier to convince them to do certain things. But at the same time, I know she's had this on her, and sometimes getting it on them is the problem. And then once it's on them, then they accept it a lot easier. But it's the motion of me going towards her to be able to put something on her that is making her move or flinch. So oftentimes you'll find us at a show sometimes. Sometimes it's just a matter of accomplishing the obstacle and then just getting whatever you can out of it. There we go. So again, I didn't push the issue. I just let her take a look at it. I let her sniff it. I let her feel it. And then she was like, oh, okay. And then I put it on her. And then now she's going to walk off. You can see she's walking a little faster. So apparently a good way to make her move. Good girl. So she still has a great personality. And she still is talented, I think, more than perhaps, an average llama, which is nice.
Do you find that there's a difference between males and females? Does one do better in performance than the other?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is a little more common for males to be a little bit better at performance for a couple of reasons. Generally speaking, I've had some females that we will work all of our babies. All of our babies have to be involved in this program just to be a better animal. But then sometimes once they reach 2 and maybe get a little hormonal, they can change, you know, their likenesses can change. Girls can be a little bit finickier or a little pissier, if you will, if it's just not their thing. And I find that doesn't change so much with males. But that doesn't mean if you have a male that just doesn't have it in his genetics, he just doesn't have it in his genetics. So every male is still not going to be great at performance, but I think there's less changes as they develop, except if they are still intact, meaning used for breeding, they've not been castrated or neutered, then there are some changes that can sometimes occur. Evan is a perfect example. We used to be able to pick up his back legs very easily. Now he's very hard with that because of him fighting with Sir Arthur all the time. And I haven't worked with him enough to remind him that we are not Sir Arthur, we're not attacking him. On the other hand, though, Mackenzie, Stewie's mom, and Louise, who I have out here, are two of my best performance animals, and they're girls. And I love that line. I love that genetics because of that. So I love my girls to work, but there can definitely be a little more changes with them. Plus, again, you know, females are usually part of a breeding program. And most people are going to purchase a male because it's less expensive than purchase a female to use for breeding because they're more expensive. But again, that doesn't mean a girl can't do it. So I'm going to just put one thing in front of her that I know she's still working on, just to show you varied levels. So I do want her to be able to step into this tire, and it is confusing for them at first because they don't understand what we're asking. So she knew not to go around the pole, but she doesn't quite understand that I want her to step in the tire. So she wants to spin around it. She's picking up that leg, and I'm trying to find moments to tell her that she's a good girl, good girl, good girl. And it's a lot of small direction with your hand. I keep trying to tell the kids these days, it's like a joystick. And then they're like, I don't know what joystick is. I'm like, forget it. But that's what it is like. I know all of you can appreciate that. So it's catching those moments and redirecting her immediately before she gets too far off. So again, good girl, good girl, good girl. So even though she's standing on it, that's still great. Good job, good job, excellent, good girl. So I can see the subtlest movements. She's flicking her eye. She's got a wrinkle under her eye. That is a little bit of stress, but we're not killing her. I mean, at any point in time, doing something new is stressful, right? Right, everyone?
Yeah.
So I'm going to see if I can get her to step down in. She's like straddling it because she doesn't understand that I want it in. Good. She doesn't know to go down. She's looking there. So good job.
Hooray!
Good girl. You're getting lots of cheers. You're getting lots of cheers. Good girl. Good girl. So even though they're not a very touchy-feely animal, not all animals think that that's a great reward. I use my voice a lot. So, all right, we're going to let her end with that because that was wonderful. Good job. Okay. All right, we're going to tie her up, and then I am going to I think since it's maybe Stewie will get a reprieve today. I did bring out Stewie, so Benji, obviously young, Franny, a year old, and then I've got Louise, who is my senior citizen, but just the ultimate champ. I did bring Stewie, who is 2. Stewie is just also naturally gifted. So he's probably not going to be much different than me bringing Louise out and just being able to show you kind of like what the ultimate animal can do, hopefully. Watch, everybody else has been amazing. And I bring out my pro and she's going to be like, what? You want me to do what? Half the time I tell her she's retired and then I just seem to show her yet one more year. But she really, really does love it. Now, one of the things about Louise is that even all of this, like, so for those of you watching, I'm thinking Karen in particular, but also Claudia, even when we show in halter and we are having our animals judged on how they're put together, they have to stand a certain way, or when we're doing showmanship. So one of the things with her, for instance, is like, we have to have an animal squared up. So their feet have to be evenly lined up in the front and in the back. Foot, So Louise automatically knows to be in this position. And almost literally, all I have to do is just tell her foot and just touch ever so slightly on the lead, and she knows where I want her to stand. It's pretty amazing when I have her in a showmanship ring and I can ask her to do such little things to fix her position that way. So that's where it can transfer over into other areas. Now for her, as I'm talking, I'm just gonna parade her through kind of anything that's here. Step. One of the other things that you're gonna also notice is that the goal in all of this when we are being judged is not so much that they're also doing the obstacle, but if you notice, I barely have to touch her lead. So they are also looking to see this loose lead and barely any contact on the lead whatsoever. Ho, 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 ho. So again, all I did was tell her, ho, she knows to stop. She's like, we're showing. She loves showing. You can't normally kiss her. If you try to kiss her, she does spit at you. But at shows, she loves shows. And she loves people with beards. But if you guys noticed, all I did was walk her up. I told her, ho, she knows what the tire is. She knows what she has to do. Now I can probably see if I can also make her turn in the tire. Oh, all right. We'd be a little rusty on that. What's that? Yeah, I know, right? She's like, I haven't done any of this in a while. Side. Side. Good girl. Side. Put the foot back in. Foot back in. Foot back in. Good. All right. We'll let you catch a break. All right. So, and another thing to elevate here. Up, 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 up. Good girl. Look who's so big and proud. Good job. Good job. Good job. Yeah. You're having fun. So we show them how you do. Look. Now, the one thing Louise does not do, she does not come downstairs nicely. I have never been able to get her to walk downstairs without just leaping off the top, and I gave up. That's the one thing she does not do. But she does love to jump, even for an old girl. Come on, girl. Let's go. Hop, hop, hop. Jump. Good girl. All right. Now we'll show you here. Stand, stand, stand. So I'm not even going to hold her lead. Stand, stand, stand. Good girl. Okay. And we'll also demonstrate for you picking up feet. I'm like, why am I being ridiculous? Foot, foot. Good girl. Back feet are even harder. Stand, foot, foot. Good girl. So she knows what I'm doing based on where I am and where I'm standing around her. Now, so if they ask me to show teeth at a class, of course, I could be a little funny and I could say, well, there they are, because hers stick out. But being able to touch ears, now she's not supposed to do that. Stand, stand. And the funny thing is too, is if we were at a show, they also know the difference as well. They know when they're in the ring and they have to perform versus when they're at home. So that is, oh, she got old lady eyes and gookies in her eyes. Oh, it's tough being old. She is 20, so that is extremely old for a llama. But one of the things that we look at is just overall in terms of her body and how she's holding up. She's certainly doing very well. But I definitely don't think I'll bring her to another show. All right, so with the time that we have left, because again, as I said, there's a lot of content here. There's a lot of things to be able to do, talk about, but I wanted to be able to just show you guys some of the different things. So I would love, if you guys have any questions, that we can sort of round out the program before we end for today.
I have a question. So how do you know, like, do you, after all your years doing this, do you know when you see an animal, like with their behavior, if they're going to be good for this particular
Yes.
thing? Like, what are you looking for?
Well, I mean, a lot of what I just did with Benji was exactly that. I don't necessarily make the assumption when I'm in the pen with them, looking at them, just looking at them. Like, just because Benji is friendly and likes to be pet and likes the camera, that does not mean that he would come out here and see these things and be readily acceptable to do them. So that doesn't necessarily translate. You do look for an animal, though, that is courageous, outgoing, not shy. Like, in my honest opinion, Lorelei is very demure. She's very stand back-ish. She's very quiet. I don't necessarily think it would be her forte. We will still ask her to do these things. We will still work with her on certain things just so that she's a great animal that way. But based on her personality, her mom will do anything we put in front of her. But Layla has no clue. Like, she doesn't understand it. We love Layla, but that's Layla. You know, Karen, we took her one time just for fun, and Karen, who's behind the camera, actually took her into a performance class just to see what they would do. And oftentimes I am very guilty of that, I mean, all you can do is just get out there and try it and make it a positive experience for them. So some people will take their animals into a performance course for the first time with minimal training, which we do as well, but then force them or really try to make the goal, I need my llamas to do this. And that's going to scare them, and it's going to make them sour, and it's not going to make them happy. If I walk up to an obstacle and an animal's afraid of it, if they're a baby, I'm going to give them an opportunity to look at it, and then we walk away. If it's an animal that I know should do the obstacle and they're just being a little bit of a dingbat, then obviously I'm going to push it a little bit farther. That's just about knowing what you can push your animal to do and not. And I'll talk to them. I will literally say things like, trust me, it's not scary. We can do this. You know, it's a lot of that communication. So I had no idea what Benji would do. He literally has never seen anything. We've only taken him for walks around the farm. So he just sees the farm, he sees people, he sees chickens a little bit, you know, that's it. He has never even seen a pole on the ground. So that's my evaluation. That is how I evaluate an animal, to see whether they are naturally going to be competent at something like that. And then you want to just build on the skills. Some animals also need to grow into it. So we had another guy here, Jackson, the craziest baby I've ever owned, like in terms of excitability and just crazy. Took 3 people for me to be able to shear him the first time. But he naturally was brave, loved performance, would march around anything I put in front of him, but don't ask him to stand still at all. So he, as he got older, grew into that more and more, as long as we just kept fostering it. And as long as we just kept saying, it's okay if you don't want to stand still, who cares? You do anything we put in front of you, it'll eventually come. So I think it's just that understanding and appreciation.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions?
So you train them with words, kind of like a dog. Do they like associate a word with a particular action?
Definitely. So, and I try to have different inflections in my voice also. One of the very basic things that we teach the animals as well as our youth in our program is over a simple obstacle like a step over or a jump. So what you saw me jump with Louise, we'll make that a step over. I'll have it at the same height, and I should be able to do it as a step over based on my body language, my voice, as well as at the same height, change it into a jump, because I increase my pace, I use a different word, I increase the inflection in my voice, and you know, all of that combined. So it's all part of it. So I think it's the action also. Like Louise knows when I put my hand on her withers and I'm bending down and I say foot as I'm bending down, she picks up her foot. When my hand goes to her hind ends and I say foot, if you notice, she picked up her foot before I even did anything. So it's a combination of things, but they are very trainable that way. So I think it's all of that combined. So I do use my voice, and it's a position you know, when she walks up to that little barrel, she pretty much knows after 20 years, because she's been doing it with me since she was born. She's like, oh, those things we step on. A tire. Oh, those things we have to step in. You know, Franny was a good example. She needs to first learn to step into it. And then she's like, I'm on it, you know, and then she's like, she didn't know to be in it. You know, then when I change it up for Louise, then it's about them learning and understanding and following my commands, because I could have wanted her back feet in those tires. And then we would have worked on it from there. Backing up is a big thing. Using your hands. I didn't even do a backup. I mean, there's a million and one things with that, but being able to cue an animal by sticking my hand out so that she knows to turn her body in a certain way. They love to give us little jigsaw puzzles that we have to back through, weave through. Animals don't like to back through things where they can't see. So they'll put big trees on either side or something overhead that we have to back under. It gets pretty crazy. It gets fun. So
what's one of the strangest things that you have seen? What's one of the strangest circus tricks that you have seen?
Yeah, and it is circus tricks. So I'm saying it out loud so Karen can hear. So they're asking, what's one of the strangest things that we have seen?
Oh, what's that one with the inflatable giant?
Oh, well, so they get pretty crazy at llama shows. I don't know that I feel like it's the strangest thing. I feel like something else is popping in my head, but you know, your big lawn ornament blow up things.
Yes.
So they like to have themes. And so one of the shows that we go to, it's not even Halloween, it's July. They will have these big inflatable things that also move. There's one that's like a dragon and the arms move.
That's
and we
terrifying.
Have to walk. It's terrifying. It is.
I mean,
These things frighten me.
That's terrifying.
And you have to pace your time, because if you don't get in before the arms close, it's like almost grabbing the llama. So it's really pretty funny. I'm sure it's not totally funny for the llama, but I'm only laughing because, you know, it's just the crazy things we have to do. I think the funniest one, just recently, the one show we went to this year, they had a whole COVID theme. They had a whole medical theme at one of the courses.
Wow.
One was superheroes, one was COVID. So what I thought was funny.
Did you have to mask
them? Do we have to mask them? No, but we had to walk.
Kidding.
No, they make us do things like that. But no, what they did have was they had masks hanging on strings that we had to walk through. They love that. They love things that you have to walk through. But it wasn't funny, but it is funny. So find the humor in it. But they had a stretcher and they just had this like floppy dummy, blow up dummy. And they had the arm hanging off. And they said that this is a COVID patient. And, you know, his dying wish is to touch a llama. But,
Oh
you know,
my God.
But he couldn't, I mean, you have to have fun. But he couldn't get up to touch the llama. So what the obstacle was, we had to walk the llama up to the cot. And we had to walk alongside the cot with this inflatable arm hanging off. And the arm had to brush against the llama's leg so that this COVID patient could pet a llama. I mean, you know.
Okay, I would have run away from that.
I've had to walk over bubble wrap. That's what I think. That's what comes to my mind. That I think was the craziest, is we had to walk over bubble wrap. So every time they stepped, it was popping and making noise. We have to, they're famous for having fans blowing streamers, and you have to walk through these streamers that are blowing. We have one show that we go to and it's a whole basketball theme. We have to go up a bridge, and then there's a hula hoop, not a hula hoop, a basket hoop. You can tell I don't play basketball, but you had to go up the bridge, and then you had to like cut a string off of the basket net, and then you have to pose with like a trophy, or you have to dribble a basketball, or there's just all sorts of things that, again, what I've always told my kids, I cannot recreate all of the obstacles here. That's not my goal. And early on, the kids would come home and they'd be like, oh, we got to make this obstacle. We got to make this obstacle. No, we don't. I don't have time for that. What we need to do is just get our animals to be confident in us and in the relationship, so that they are willing to hopefully do whatever crazy things we ask them to do. So,
are there sounds that they also do?
What do you mean sounds?
In other words, are llamas sensitive to certain sounds? I know horses don't like crinkly bags.
Sure.
Something
No,
like that.
absolutely. They're more sensitive to touch. But Karen, the question was, are they sensitive to sound? So one of the things sometimes they'll have, it's more sight. I feel, Karen's. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. So we just had one when we were in Iowa. They'll have like little plastic frogs. They'll have a camping theme. And so they'll have like a pretend fire, or you'll have to walk through water and they'll have one of those like mechanical frogs that like motion makes it make noises. So they'll do things like that. It's not so much noise, it's motion and things to step on or things touching them. So they are famous for like this obstacle here. We had to do this. They threw a whole bunch of toys in it. Some of them were flexible and steppable. Some of them were plastic toys. And the animal had to walk through this sea of toys. You know, you're going to step on something, it's going to shoot out the side because the animal catches it the wrong way. Those are more things like that. They're the biggest obstacle that even got my best performance llama. And Karen asked me this morning if I was going to pull it out. Does everybody know what a weasel ball is? So yes. I hear somebody go, so if you don't know what a weasel ball is, which we were on our way home from this championship show and I stopped at Cracker Barrel to buy these dang weasel balls because I am like, we are desensitizing every animal to a weasel ball because we lost a big championship, not lost, but we didn't like win it all. So weasel balls are these little plastic balls with a battery inside and a ridiculous like skunk-like looking tail attached to it. And they had weasel balls on the ground and we had to walk through them. And these things just roll around and the tail goes like this, doesn't make any noise. And the llamas were like, no way. Some of them did it, some of them didn't. But my best performance llama double, he was like, what? And I was like so surprised because I was like cool as a cucumber. I'm like, we do everything. And he was like, no. And I was like, are you kidding me? So sometimes you get disappointed. They definitely throw you off guard. Just when you think they're going to do everything and anything, when you get lazy, that's when they'll catch you. So it's just fun things like that. It's really a blast, but there's a concept behind all of it. And all of it is that we should be interacting with our animals. We should be breeding for animals that have great personalities. We should be handling our animals. They should be halter trained. They should be exposed to things in their environment. They are meant to be interacted with, but it takes work. And so that is what it's all about. It's not about scaring the animal, but it's demonstrating that we are raising animals that can go out and go to a library, go to a nursing home. We can go in an elevator. We can have people sitting in a wheelchair petting them. They will simulate that. They will have people in a wheelchair zooming up to your animal. Your animal has to stand still while that person pets and then walks away. So it's all things that these animals should be stewards of being able to do and show people what wonderful animals that they are. So while it's fun and it's entertaining and, you know, sometimes it does feel like they're trying to see, you know, what we can do. And there are some really excellent animals out there. Louise is one of them. And when we're in a master class, I've had to put, oh my God, I could go on for days. I had to put socks on my animals once. I had to put socks on my animal. So I had to put a sock on my llama's foot. You try doing that and you think your life is depending on it. Your heart's pounding out of your chest. It's just a dang ribbon. It is like not the end of the world. And you're like, oh my God, I gotta, please stand still. But I had to put socks on a llama. So it's just crazy things like that. But it's a lot of fun. And so I will take a breath in case if there's any more questions. But like I said, guys, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Please let me know if you enjoyed this, not just for clapping and cheering the animals on, which is so darling, and I absolutely loved it, but just even from an educational standpoint. There is so much more in each of these areas that we could get into and spread it out, of course, because hopefully new people will continue to join us and be able to, again, see what these animals do. So any last minute questions?
Yeah, two things. Is it possible to train them to come when they're called? And is it possible to train them to stand still while they're being sheared?
Oh, so I'm only saying it out loud because I keep telling Karen, but we learned it's actually, if she has the earpiece in it, it defrays from you guys hearing me. So the question was, can they be trained to come when they're called? She's laughing. They are a little too smart for that. Now, if you don't have a halter and a lead, you could call their names and they'll come, they'll come, not all of them. They're like a cat. So it is a little
Sometimes.
difficult. And
I don't know
so
what feels like it.
yeah, they'll show interest. But if they see the halter and the lead, most of them you have to use what we call a catch pen. So most of them have to be tricked or brought into a smaller area, and then you catch and halter them. I only have on my 22 animals here, very few that I can walk up to and halter. Some of them, it's just because eventually they get tired and they're like, all right. And that's some of our older guys. Stewie is one that we can usually, maybe after calmly walking around for a minute, he'll just be like, okay, halter him. Sir Arthur, I can walk up to and halter him, mostly because he probably thinks he's going to go see girls, but he also does have a very good personality that way. So as far as standing still to be shorn, I am sure it's possible, but again, I think they're too smart for that. So even my best performance animals, if I were to tie them to a fence to shear them, they're going to move around. If I put them in a chute, they understand. Okay. It keeps them honest. So I've not attempted it. I'm sure you could. I'm just sure it takes a lot more work than I really want to put into it because I have the proper apparatus to be able to have them compute how they need to behave when they go into the chute. So, but good questions. Very good questions. We do have a guy in our industry that has way too much time on his hands, and he does clicker training, and he can get his animal to like pick up a tissue out of a tissue box and do all sorts of ridiculous things. And it's amazing. And we do tease him because he has too much time on his hands. But he also has great animals. And I'm sure you could take a tissue out of a tissue box for me, right? Yes, you could. You're being extremely lovey this morning. She's like, I know I'm on camera and I feel like I'm at a show and I still got it, right? All right. Any more? One more question. I'll take one more question. Is somebody going to ask something?
I would ask
I mean, I
about
don't.
when you
Go
had-
ahead.
when we had bad weather on Monday, how did they do?
Yeah, so I'm sure they did fine. I did not do so well.
Yeah.
And I blamed that to the alerts on the phone because
know.
I called Karen in a panic because they named Ronkonkoma where she lives. They named my town. They named my mom's town. And she was like, what are you talking about? So it was pretty crazy. The sad thing is there's nothing I can do.
I know.
Without any notice. Like when we know a storm is coming and we have time to prepare if it's going to be that bad, we have pulled a trailer, parked it in the middle of this area where there aren't a lot of trees, and I've had to pick certain animals to put on the trailer, and that is heartbreaking enough that it could almost make me cry right now because I'm tired. But that is what you have to do. They will fend for themselves. But in an instance like that, where they had given us no notice and they said it was a tornado warning and they named towns and they named the times it was going to be moving through, all we could do is just that there was nothing. I can't run out here, and do anything in that moment's notice because I have to take care of me in case that really was the issue. But as soon as it was over, I did drive out with my flashlight and we went in every pen. And honestly, every single animal was perfectly dry in their houses, snug as a bug, and almost looked at me like as if I was crazy. I'm sure that it was a little scary for them, but they're again used to wind and rain and things like that. So so everybody was good, but I was definitely
Okay, good.
panicked. Yeah.
You didn't lose
thank
any
you.
trees, nothing like that.
No, actually, as bad as they made it seem, we had a worse time in that other windstorm in which
Yeah.
I was out there like a lunatic.
I remember.
So standing with my animals, screaming at them to get away from trees as the trees were falling, screaming, crying, calling my husband multiple times, telling me you better get home with other choice words in between all of that. So, there's definitely differences of things. So that is the difficulty with having animals. And that's, what I posted, you are helpless in certain circumstances. And a tree could fall and they could get hurt. But I've luckily enough not ever had that happen, right? No, no, we've not had that happen. We've not. You're a good girl. All right. I think there was somebody else that was trying to get in and ask a question. So one more question, and then I got to keep you guys hanging on. I got to get you on again. There's always got to be something else you want to know.
Yeah, sorry, I just didn't know, like, take the last question if someone else had one, because I've already asked questions, but they know their names?
Do they know their names? I want to believe they know their names. Sometimes that is a bit anthropomorphic. I am sure I put way more on them. I think they know the intonation of how we say their names. Perhaps
Mhm.
I think it's the same as a dog. You know,
I
like
think it's the same with any animal.
yeah, you know. So I mean, like Louise. I mean, how else can I say it? But we're usually like Louise. You know, like we just say it certain ways. You know, Mac out there. I'm always like Mac Mac. You know, so I think it's a little bit like that, or it's they know our voice. The people that got me in llamas, Lars and Gail, they had a whistle, and when Gail made that whistle, the llamas knew that whistle, and they would all get their attention and come over. So yeah, Carol has a whistle also. So I think it's about them knowing your voice, because if somebody else called Mac or somebody else called Louise, I don't think they would respond as well. I'm sure they know Karen's voice, you know, those that are around them. So I think
Okay.
it's that way. Yeah, absolutely. So they are very smart. And it's not just because they're my children. I mean, really, they are very smart. I was raised with horses and always did horses growing up, all my life, you know, showing, competing with them. They are smarter than horses. They are much more willing to learn. One of the things that I also say with these guys, you don't have to practice every day. They will pick up where you left off. A horse will regress. So these guys will remember their lessons, and maybe with a little refresher, they don't lose it. They will keep going forward. So it's not repetitive day in and day out. A horse, if you don't do something with them, they're going to go backwards. And then sometimes you have to, you know, start again, or 5 steps back, 3 steps forward kind of thing. So they are very smart, and they do or should want to please. And I've taught older animals new tricks just as easily as working with young animals. So it just has to be in their DNA. So, all right, guys. I, of course, just always have a busy day. But again, I can't thank you enough for spending the time with me. I know when it comes to stuff like this, you can easily tell how passionate I am about my animals and about what we do, and just how proud I am of them. And it's fun. And when I do stuff like this too, it also reminds me. So, you know, thank you as well, that I hate that I'm stuck inside a little much more than I want to be these days, being the administrative role in this business. And I equally am regrouping, and have taken this time with this cold to just check back in and reorganize and restructure my days. And so I'm telling myself as well, you know, every day you can start over again. Every day is a new day. Every day it's okay to look at what you can do different, and how you can fix things. So that's been my lesson, and I hope everybody else can be kind to themselves and remember that as well. So
Thank you.
Louise is coming in for a close up to
Aww.
say
Louise
goodbye.
is giving all of us llama
Louise.
kisses.
She's giving you sloppy
Aw.
llama kisses. That is for sure. You know, it's amazing. You think I have this stuff planned. Thank you, Louise. That was very kind of you to say goodbye to the audience. So everybody have a wonderful day. Please, please
too.
give me feedback. Thank
was
you so much
great.
for
Feel better.
spending your time with me. I feel great. I just sound terrible. But
There
again,
you
I
go.
appreciate it and look forward to staying connected with everybody. So
Love you.
bye.
Bye, thank
Love you
you.
too, guys.
Bye. Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody. Karen's learned not to shut you guys off automatically. All right.
It's
Bye
okay.
bye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye bye.